Moving now to Nigeria, where we turn our attention to a critical development in our foreign and security policy. Well, just days ago, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu-Ojukwu, signed a communique with the State of Israel. It sets out frameworks for counter-terrorism, intelligence sharing, and advanced security training. While some view this as a bold step in Nigeria's fight against insecurity, others warn it poses grave risk for our sovereignty, our international standing, and even our moral compass. The Muslim Public Affairs Center, MPAC, has raised deep concerns. They are calling the deal a dangerous gamble that risks Nigeria's sovereignty and international reputation. But joining us virtually to discuss this is Mr. Disu Kamor. He is the Executive Chairman of the Muslim Public Affairs Center, Nigeria. His organization has expressed strong concerns about this agreement. Hello, Mr. Kamor. Thank you for being here with us on Global Digest. All right, thank you for coming. Well, let's talk about the press release. Well, MPAC's press release describes this agreement as fraught with peril. Could you explain in simple terms why this partnership with Israel is so concerning? Yeah, sorry, sir. Could you please unmute your mic? We can't hear you. Mr. Kamor, can you hear me? We can't. Okay.
Yes. Am I coming through now?
All right. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me on your program.
Okay. So could you please explain to us, the MPAC's press release that was given yesterday, it described the agreement between Nigeria and Israel as fraught with peril. Could you explain in simple terms why the partnership with Israel is so concerning?
Absolutely, yes. I can do that in a few minutes. And thank you very much for having me on the program. The issue of the services that Israel offers to Nigeria has to do with the core issues of its standing in the world, as well as its performance as a player in the security in the security business around the world. Any partnership or cooperation between Nigeria and Israel in counter-terrorism efforts that uses or relies on the knowledge, the expertise, and the tactics that Israel acquired as a result of its policies in the occupation of Palestine, practicing apartheid, using any of the means and methods that it has taken it to the World Court, ICJ in particular, poses significant risk to Nigeria's sovereignty and international reputation. Now, I'll give the specific reason for that. Nigeria actually stands to lose more by cooperating with Israel, enjoying the benefit of the capabilities that Israel developed by deploying brutal tactics in the occupied territories. Nigeria is likely going to be accused of complicity in war crimes. By collaborating with Israel, Nigeria may be seen as a complicit in the Israel's war crimes. This is an issue that's already before the ICJ. Particularly regarding its activities in Gaza. This can damage Nigeria's international standing and relationship with other countries. Well, Israeli security operatives deployed and uses tactics and technologies developed in the occupied territories on Palestinians that are kept in the most inhumane conditions, worse than guinea pigs that are used in test labs. Allowing deployment of such expertise, equipment, and methods may lead to international legal breaches and human rights abuses in Nigeria. Israel is a serial human rights abuser. So in fighting it to come over and share its expertise that it has developed over the years, abusing the rights of Palestinians with the Nigerian counterpart is fraught with risks. Thank you very much.
Well, your statement yesterday spoke about Nigeria's sovereignty at risk. Well, how exactly Does such an agreement threaten Nigerian sovereignty? And also, is this mainly about foreign interference, or are there other deeper structures and issues that are at play here?
Well, there may be, but I'm just going to take you down the memory lane regarding the development of this communique that was signed yesterday. In 2019, a U.S. An Israel academic actually visited Nigeria, and there were a lot of media coverage regarding that visit, where on almost the same pattern that we have witnessed today, announcements were made of development of framework regarding helping Nigeria in the areas of agricultural, food security, as well as insecurity. This basically boosting Nigeria's capability to deal with terrorism. These are lofty ideas, and it would be nice, to enjoy the benefits of the experience of nations that have played, according to humane rules around the world to assist us to combat the scourge of terrorism that Nigeria has faced over the years. But we have to be very careful to select the right partner in our fight against terrorism. By simply, entering, and that is why in the same press release that you made reference to, we urge our government to openly, to declare openly the content of the MOU for Nigerians, to have this full disclosure of the content of this MOU, so that Nigeria can actually know the real content. Because just signing, putting our signature on the MOU is not all that we need to combat the scourge of terrorism in this country. We need to select our partner correctly, and standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel in the fight against terrorism is not a good choice for Nigerians. There's a possibility of loss of autonomy. Partnering with Israel may compromise Nigeria's ability to chart its own path to peace and security. Instead of relying on foreign power, which will come to the scene to protect its own interests, geopolitical interests, economic interests, and all other interests. I spoke earlier about the likelihood of Nigeria being complicit. Nigeria, we are not going to allow our country to become a test ground for technologies and equipment that were developed in the test lab of Gaza to be further developed on our soil.
Well, we don't know that exactly. We don't know that to be sure exactly, to be part of the conversation.
No, that is why I said earlier that that Israel is a serial violator of human rights.
Understood.
If you want me to actually prove that, at the moment,
totally,
Israel
we understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, we totally understand that.
Israel is before the ICJ. It is specifically accused of international crimes.
Yes.
And the two of its leaders, including the prime minister, have been declared wanted. There have been there have been catalog of evidence put before the ICJ. There have been arguments by both sides, including the Israeli side, before the indictments were made. So it's a serial abuser. We know for sure the tactics. You just switch on your TV right now as we speak. It's using starvation on about 2 million people in Gaza as a weapon of war. What else do we need to know?
Well, true.
We're dealing here with somebody with track record of abusing human rights and using extreme tactics to deal with issues on the ground.
Okay, let's look at the global context now. Well, you're correct in saying that the International Criminal Court, of course, the prosecutor there has issued an arrest warrant for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And of course, there is a case ongoing at the ICJ against Israel, which is spearheaded by South Africa. But let's look at this now. Inasmuch as Israel is facing these serious allegations at the ICJ regarding its actions in Gaza, how does Nigeria's security partnership with Israel affect our standing in the international community? We're looking at this particularly as the country has historically stood for justice and non-alignment.
Okay, absolutely. That is the same point that I'm making. Nigeria's reputation matters to every one of us because we're Nigerians, and the perception for most people a fact. Israel at the moment, because of the isolation it's facing around the world, is desperately seeking for partners, people to be seen with. I'd just like to ask any of the people amongst the audience that would like somebody that is accused of major crimes in Nigeria to be seen with that kind of person on his street, in his family, or in his hometown. That is what Israel wants. It's not interested in our security. It's not interested in food security in Nigeria. It's interested in being accepted back, seeking credibility. And that is what it's using this, jumping onto the platform. I just explained to you, and you can fact check me on it. The first attempt to actually put together the framework for this type of collaboration started in 2019 when the president of the Galilee Academy visited Nigeria to sign MOU with another academic institution in Nigeria, and he stated openly at that gathering that they are going to develop the framework. And the president of this Galilee Foundation happens to be a director of social committee in the Israeli Prime Minister government. So it doesn't leave much, to our imagination what Israel is about. The options are clear for us. We are not opposed to Nigerians seeking partnership with countries around the world that have proven track record of protecting human rights or of prioritizing human rights while prosecuting national interest, including security interest. But Israel, with its track record, is an unsuitable candidate for that role. Thank you very much.
In our conversation today, we've talked about, of course, security, which is part of what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in its communique. It's part of the conversation that was had between the Israeli envoy and Nigeria. Now, in your view, what is the danger of Nigeria outsourcing such critical functions like counter-terrorism to Israel?
Well, the dangers are enormous. I'll give you a specific example. Israel, aside being a serial violator of human rights, is also known to be a serial manipulator of intelligence. I'll give you a specific example. Recently, it launched an unprovoked attack on Iran, claiming that Iran, was
supporting, yes,
developing,
developing nuclear weapons, and is also supporting Palestinians in the war in Gaza.
This is a claim. Absolutely. And this is a claim, a ludicrous claim for that matter, that Israel, specifically the current Prime Minister of Israel, has been making for the past 7 years, that Iran had always been months away from, owning nuclear bomb. For the past, and it's claimed, it's only claimed all the time, has been its intelligence, its capability to know what the rest of the world doesn't know. Even when all the bodies charged with the responsibility of monitoring Iran's, compliance to the IAEA directives, have come out openly that the intelligence available to them show clearly that Iran was not pursuing nuclear weapons. Israel, almost alone, except, maybe together with America, because they pursue the same objective in the region, came out to say that no, it has a different set of intelligence to lend credence to its claim. It launched the attack unprovoked in the middle of the night, and we saw what came out of that. In Iraq, many years before then, the same prime minister that is sitting in the office now testified before the US Congress that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Again, it based its claim on this, spurious intelligence. So we have to be very careful. These are individuals, governments, and entities that manufacture. They are in the business of manufacturing intelligence to pursue political objectives. And that is why we have to be very careful. That is point number one. Point number two is this. We have to be very careful because for a lot of these entities out there, insecurity is business to them. Insecurity as well is business to them. A lot of them, they see, what is happening in Nigeria now as a means for them to profit, to make profit. And it actually suits them to keep the die rolling, to keep that vicious cycle going on. So they are not really coming in to help us. I'll give you a specific example. In 2007, specifically on the 1st of October 2007, United States government established the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, specifically with the objective to assist African governments and nations, in the areas of security. At the time, in 2007, it became fully operational in 2008, a year later, a year after it was established. As of 2007, when it was established, the global terrorism, Africa's share of the global terrorism was a meager 2%. That was bad enough. 2% of the global terrorism was bad enough for us. But do you know what percentage Africa is responsible for in global terrorism today? 40%. After, how many decades of partnering with the African government to combat terrorism, to boost their security capability, so we have to be very careful. What Nigeria needs to do is to direct our effort and resources for homegrown methods and means to create peace, to build capacity, and to rely on internal mechanism to build our own framework for securing our lives. No, Nigerian lives cannot be more important to any other person than Nigerians. That is the responsibility of our government. When they were sworn into office, that is part of their oath of office, to secure the lives of Nigeria. A lot of money has been put into security issues in Nigeria historically during successive administrations. We have to account for this. There are socio-economic reasons that terrorists and its cultists amongst us are exploiting to recruit people to justify their act of terrorism. Government has to tackle that. Government has to deal with other issues. They have to create partnership with local stakeholders, engage communities, drive intelligence-led policing, enhance the capability of our law enforcement as well as terrorism experts. And these are the things we have to do. We don't have to go cap in hand to countries, especially countries like Israel, that we know has its own interest, for coming at this point in time when it is in the court, in the court, in the international court, to defend itself against international crimes that it is committing and being live streamed right in front of our eyes every day. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Disu, you have argued today that with partnering with Israel, Nigeria could risk complicity in international crimes. Could you expand more on this point so our viewers can understand?
So sorry, can you repeat that question?
I'm saying, in the midst of our conversation today, you have argued that by partnering with Israel at this time, Nigeria is risking complicity in international crimes. Could you expand more on this point?
Okay, yes, because it's simple. The logic behind that is that most of the technologies that are going to be used in Nigeria, most of the tactics that are going to be used in Nigeria is invariably going to become another Israel's test laboratory for its, invent technologies. So to be fully developed, such that when those technologies and tactics mature, they can now be exported back to the territories. I mean, just a few days ago, prominent members of the current Likud party government in Israel declared openly their ambition for greater Israel. We have not seen the end of the crimes of Israel in that region. The destabilization role that it is playing, Israel, at the moment, as we speak, is the only country in the world with no recognized international borders. It's the prominent members. These are not just fringe elements in the country or in the government. These are prominent members of the cabinet came out openly to say that our ambition is to create greater Israel. So all these technologies, all these ideas, all these methods that are going to be deployed, used, tested on Nigerians are going to be exported back invariably. They are just going to, they are just looking for another test labs,
Yeah, but
away from the full glare, away from the full glare of the global media and the global and the international community,
yeah,
tucked
but
away in the corner of our forest. So, and they can test all these surveillance capabilities and these methods, and they can then take them back to the occupied territories to use. So
but
that is
Mr.
how they
Disu,
become complicit in it.
yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Disu, in Israel's defense, it has always stated it is, not carrying out these attacks deliberately. It has always stated it is not targeting civilian infrastructure. Instead, it is always stating it is targeting Hamas strongholds. And of course, we're arguing on the point of international law. Of course, international law would always support the fact that every country has the right to protect its territorial sovereignty and integrity. And let's not forget that all of this began because Hamas broke into southern Israel, killed 1,200 people at most, and carried almost 250 back as hostages. So Israel, on his own part, is arguing that they are not targeting civilians. Instead, that Hamas is hiding in the midst of civilians, which is why in trying to, eliminate Hamas, which was one of the points it stated when it started this campaign in Gaza, it stated that it wanted to totally wipe out Hamas. So on this point now, when Israel is arguing that they're not deliberately targeting civilians and that they're instead are targeting Hamas and people who are aligned to Hamas, how do you still see, how would you still justify your standpoint now?
Okay, thank you very much. If you are really interested in that subject, we can have another episode on it because we surely won't have enough time to delve deep, to do a deep dive on it right now. It seems you are not listening, attentively to what Israel is saying. Israel is not saying what you have just said. Israeli leaders, right from the top, are declaring that all Palestinians are enemies, they are expendable. In print, in word of mouth, it's out there for you to see. And look, I'm not going to spend too much time actually to dwell on that. The cases, the arguments on both sides have been presented to the ICJ. ICJ didn't just come in the middle of the night from nowhere, without any basis to allege that Israel has committed international crimes or to indict its leaders. It listened to arguments of both sides from Israeli leaders, from Israeli representatives, from Palestinian as well as South African and other, members of the coalition on the case, on the side of South Africa. They have argued their case. That is concluded, That is concluded. That it's no more an issue. It is not a complicated issue. It is not a controversial issue. It is no more something that is debatable. Israel is presently standing trial for international crimes, including crimes against humanity. Whatever it says is one thing, and I've told you now, and you can fact check me later, that repeatedly many of its officials are stated openly Amalek. The Prime Minister of Israel quoted Amalek, a Bible in the a verse in the Bible, that they are ready to destroy all the people of Palestine. So that is not the issue right now. And you made mention of something that I need to correct. Israel is not defending its territorial integrity. I stated earlier, probably you missed that point. Israel is the only country in the world with no international borders. Israel has a foreign mission in Nigeria. Bring the ambassador to your program and ask him to tell you the territory of Israel. According to the vast majority of the world, every single year, including Nigeria, nations around the world fought at the UN General Assembly, affirming the right of the Palestinians to exist on the land occupied by them pre-1967 war. Okay. That is the UN resolution. Sorry, just a quick one before I finish up on that. Now, the last point I really want to make about this is that Hamas did not invade Israel and take hostages, as you claim. This is just the narrative that the Zionists and their supporters have been publicizing. What happened on, as bad as and tragic as it was, what happened on the 7th of October 2023 was a jailbreak. Before then, the Gazans had been under key and lock, under siege by air, land, and sea for 17 years. The former former president of America, Jimmy Carter, called it the world's largest open-air prison. These were prisoners. What happened was a jailbreak. I mean, it happened during the Jews in 1945 at the Warsaw Uprising. The Jews, under the rule, almost the same pattern, rule of the Nazis, they rose up against the people oppressing them. Why should you deny the Palestinians the right to do the same thing, to try to seek freedom? And that is point number one. Point number two is this. If you look at the statistics, and I want you to check on this, if you look at the statistics on the number of Palestinians killed in 2023, on the 6th of October, a day before the jailbreak, it had already surpassed the number of Palestinians killed in the entire year of 2022. As at that time, in 2023, a day before that jailbreak, Israel had killed more Palestinians in 2023 than the entire of 2022. So what are we talking about here? So it is important we understand this in the right context. Every life matters.
Okay.
Every life matters. And whether in Israel or in Palestine, there are people seeking peace for both people to live in peace and security. But every human being is created free. Israel has no right to keep people in bondage. Even in Egypt, according to the Bible, what Moses said to Pharaoh was, "Let my people go." So it is time for the rest of the world to send this into Israel.
All right, Mr. Disu, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this topic. We hope to have you some other time so we could expand more, and hopefully would have a representative from the Nigerian government who would also share their thoughts and insights on this. We appreciate you for coming on Global Digest today.
Thank you very much, and wish you all the best. Thank you for having me on your program.
All right, thank you too. Well, this conversation is underscoring how the pursuits of security must also weigh in sovereignty, ethics, and also Nigeria's long-standing values on international diplomacy. We are still watching Global Digest on ADBN. We now turn to developments on the international scene after this break. Stay with us.
Now here's some exciting news. ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms on AVO TV app, ADBN Channel 121.